Okay, I'm sitting at home tonight doing just a little task that I need to do, and so I thought periodically while I did this I would just turn on the camera and say a few words about some things that I've been thinking about regarding Tai Chi and practice and stuff like that. I'm going to do my little task here while I do that. Maybe if you're very, very sharp, you'll be able to guess what the task is, but I don't know. It might not be obvious from the sounds. Anyway, so in yoga, all the positions, all the poses that you go into, they all have a name, and the name ends with asana, shavasana, whatever asana. I always remember that one. So you could say that asana just means pose, because it's like downward dog pose, headstand pose, death or dead pose. So, but I think, according to the Sanskrit, I'm pretty sure this is true. One of my yoga teachers told me this, and she was very respected, and I remember it very clearly, although it's been many years. But what she said was the word asana comes from, it means a comfortable chair, like a couch, like an easy chair. And the pose, no matter how difficult or how strange it is, or how contorted it might look to someone who's not familiar with that stuff, the pose is supposed to feel as comfortable as a couch. So when you're doing the pose, you should have the muscles that are needed to be strong enough to comfortably do that pose, the joints to be aligned in a way that they're comfortable. You have all those joints in a comfortable alignment, correct alignment, and all the parts that need to relax, this is the key parts, the parts that don't need to work, they are relaxed and open, and the muscles that need to be flexible in order to do that pose need to be flexible, so that when you arrive in the position it should feel comfortable. Maybe not like fall asleep on the couch comfortable, but just like a comfortable chair, like a chair that has that takes your weight nicely, and you feel like, I'm comfortable here. So every pose should feel that comfortable. And I was thinking, like, what would the Tai Chi equivalent of that be? And what I thought was, well, the yin-yang symbol, the Tai Chi symbol, is, to me, it's a symbol of unforced balance. You may disagree, and there may be other schools that feel differently about that symbol, but that doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is this is my interpretation, and it might have value for you. To me, it's a symbol of unforced balance between the hard and soft, the firm and the yielding, the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, whatever you want to call them. It's a symbol of unforced balance. So my sense is that at the end of every movement, like if I do single whip, or if I do cloud hands, or if I do stork cools wings, or whatever the movement is, at the end of that movement, it should be comfortable, like the yin-yang symbol. It should have an unforced quality, a quality of readiness to move and readiness to bear weight, which to me, that's what the yin-yang symbol looks like to me. It looks like it can bear weight, and it looks like it's ready to move. And so at the end of every position, instead of thinking, am I as comfortable as a couch, I think, am I expressing unforced balance? Am I neutral? Am I ready? Am I really ready to move? And I let that be my guiding principle. We're talking about solo forms here mostly. If it was a partner drill or something more martial, there isn't a sort of a position to rest into to have much time to study, but you can develop a sort of a seeing consciousness of the kind of general feeling and vibe that you have in your body as you go through it. So you could have a push hand session, or a partner drill, or a partner form session, and be focusing on what you're supposed to be doing in that exercise, which is great. But you can also have above that I guess meta-awareness maybe might be the word, of how the whole thing is feeling while you're doing it. Yes, I'm executing the right positions, but how do I feel inside? Is there an unforced quality to that? Am I moving in a way that that I can sustain, that I continually feel ready to bear weight, even in motion, and I continually feel ready to move and position myself differently. So I think that's a really useful way to look at it for me. It helps me correct all kinds of things that might not be noticeable unless I hold them up to that example, because that example is like it hints at posture, it hints at relaxation, it hints at things you want to do with your joints, but overall it's about a state. It's about an integrated state or feeling in the whole body. So I like that. Just like asana, it's a state of comfort, a state of relaxation. You're sitting on a couch. It's not just the noun couch. It's headstand couch, or warrior pose couch. And I would say it's parting horse's mane, unforced balance. It's stork cools wings, neutral ready. It's brush knee and push, neutral ready. So, let's see, I took a note here. Did I have anything else to say? So that's really the quality that separates, I think, just running through a form as if it's a map telling you what to do with your body, versus being in the territory of true balance, which is not a thing. It is an activity. It is a verb. You're balancing. Balance is not a noun. It is a process. So the map is just put yourself in these positions. Here's where your hand goes. Here's what you're supposed to be doing. But it's the territory trumps the map. You see many people who have got the map down to a T, but when they go out into the territory, the road has been washed out. There's been a few recent developments in maybe in the city planning, or maybe nature took a step, or something happened and it's not the same. The territory has changed, or there was simply a mistake in the map. No matter how good it is, a map is not the thing. So when you get there, you realize very quickly, if you've got any intelligence at all, that the territory trumps the map. Once you're out there, the map is just a reference point. It is not what's going there, what's happening there. You look at a map of Arizona, you are not looking at Arizona. You are looking at a piece of paper. So with Tai Chi, it would be the form is a nice map that gets you from place to place. It's a catalog of ideas, possibly techniques, certainly of priorities and ways to move, and then the territory can either be fighting, martial fighting, or either tournament or street, or it could be daily life. But either way, no matter whether it's daily life or fighting in a tournament or fighting in a on the street, you're going to discover very quickly that the map is not the territory. People move much faster. You're much more adrenalized. And I'm just talking about daily life too. Things happen faster in daily life than they do in a form or in a set-up way. Life is constantly throwing us unpredictable things to deal with in order to keep our balance. Personal, emotional, physical, economic, psychological, biological, spiritual, constant changes. And they don't often leave you enough time to really slow down and feel into what's going on and make little tiny corrections and adjustments to get everything just so. Because if you have to get your house in perfect order before your friends can come over for Thanksgiving, they're going to be coming over in January. So I like to say the map keepers are really important. The people who keep these maps in these forms, super, super important, because without them, a lot of these traditions would have died off. Um, they're great for transporting ideas to people over time, over generations, and sometimes even over having human beings able to do it. Sometimes the map is written down in a way that someone can rediscover it 100 years later and put it together and start to do it. But so it's super important. But the downside is you can get so attached to that map, you can get so obsessed with it that you start to think that the map is the territory. And you can get rigid. You can become too hidebound and too much about perfection in the map, regardless of what it is, whether it's a Tai Chi form or a map of Arizona. You can get obsessed with it, and you can get too rigid. And it's dangerous because you get attached to the map, and the territory trumps the map. So you may be just sure that X will work, or X is there, or X will support you, or be there for you, or whatever, and you get to the territory and it's not, she's not, he's not, the world isn't the way the map said it would be. So, on the other hand, people that don't like forms and don't like maps and don't like those kind of ideas and or those sort of forms, they'll say that life is formless, and why study a form? It's an artificial construct. What we really need to do is abandon the forms, or at least de-emphasize them a great deal, and focus on pressure testing and bringing it to life and making sure that all these things still work, that they're not just a product of their time. So they're really important too. I think that is really a terrific. I think that's really a terrific thing to have in the world. I love that people breathe life into things, that they're into the territory of life and of martial arts. They don't want to just theorize and talk about it. Like, they want to dive in there and really figure out what it is. They're super valuable too. I mean, without them, all the maps in the world don't really mean anything. I mean, they put the life into it. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of words, just a bunch of circles and diagrams and arrows and boxes, and it's just, road markers and interstate labels and all that crap. It's just a piece of paper. If you never go to Arizona, the map of Arizona doesn't really have any meaning. So, but the downside there is they can get so attached and obsessed with the fluid, raw, naked ability to surf these waves and do these things that they can't pass it on. Because unless someone grasps that whole theory with them without a map, unless someone just walks Arizona with them and they just soak that territory up, their art dies with them. There's a sense in which everybody's art dies with them, but there's a sense in which it doesn't. If you have not passed it on to anybody, if you have not taught anybody else how to do it or pointed the way for anybody in a way that works, then your abilities and whatever you brought to them will go with you. No one will. There won't be a way to, or at least there won't be as reliable a way to rediscover it. But if there's a map, someone left a map of any kind, and remember, a video is a map too. It's an example of the form. So if there is a map, there is hope that something that has been almost lost or actually lost can be recovered. So on the breathe life into the territory people, the downside there is that their art might die with them, and they won't leave a strong enough map for people to find their treasure. So I think a blend of both is really great, and I wish the map and the territory people talked back and forth together a little more in a more friendly way, because there's value on both sides for sure. So I would say I'm about, if there was a spectrum here and this was pure map and this was pure territory, let's say it was a half circle, 50-50 would be noon. I would say I'm at sort of 1:30 in the direction of the territory. I love forms. I'm not talented enough or young enough or interested enough to totally abandon form and just go into the function of surfing the waves. I love forms. I need forms. I need games that reveal my weaknesses and show me where I can bolster myself, because I am not talented. I am smart, but I am not talented. So what I do is I find the things that I want to do, and if I'm not talented at them, I just figure out, I break it down into pieces and I teach it to myself in a way that a talented person probably wouldn't have to do. They could see it and do it. So I'm kind of over on the territory, sort of laboratory side of things. I like pressure testing things. I like seeing if they'll work. But I'm not all the way over there where there's no forms, and I do love forms, so I like to kind of balance that out. But again, the territory trumps the form. So a feeling of unforced balance, a feeling of being ready to move, a feeling of being ready to bear weight, just like an asana, a feeling of being comfortable and relaxed and ready, sitting in a comfortable chair. That to me trumps form. So if the person's form isn't perfect, then it's okay if they have that feeling, if they're in that state. That said, you have to have good form to be in that state. It's not up here. It is partly up here, but it's also down here. If your knees are twisting, it doesn't matter what's going on above your head, above your neck. If your knees are twisting, your knees are twisting, and you cannot have unforced balance with twisted knees, not in a human form. So you can have as much as you possibly can. If your knees are permanently twisted, I'm not saying it's impossible for you to feel unforced balance. You can have as much as you can, but to have it at the height of your potential, your knees should be as untwisted as they can get. There is a relation between good form and this feeling, but it can be taken too far, in my opinion, to go for perfect form and be obsessed with the look and the geometry and the mysticism around it. And I don't think that's necessary. I have a video called Zone of Correctness, I think, and that's where I talk about the range of correctness. Yeah, that's a long one. Basically, just talking about maps and territories and how I like to feel at the end of movements. Thank you for watching. If you've lasted this long, that's amazing. And I'd have a little donation box down below if you'd like to donate to my cause of doing these kind of things, these kind of videos, the kind of music I do. It's a PayPal link, and you can donate a few bucks if you like. No donation is too big or too small, but no donation is necessary. I mainly offer these things to be helpful. That's what I'm doing. Or you can visit GeneBurnett.com. All right, no more plugs. Okay, good night.